Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Stellaris tutorial brought to you by me and CornishRatBeard. This tutorial also features our Discord collective member Toxic T15. Today we're going to be looking at the Fleet Manager and what this helpful mechanic can do for you. We'll also be looking at general fleet tips that will help you build and manage your fleets. If you haven't already, then I recommend watching our helpful guide on ship designing. The link for that will be in the description below and at the end of this video.
That's right, and if you're a little confused by the Fleet Manager and building fleets in general, then stay tuned because this guide could be exactly what you're looking for.
So first of all, what does the Fleet Manager do for you? Well, it allows players to keep track of and manage their fleets. Each fleet has a template that lists how many ships there are, their sizes, and individual designs the fleet is meant to have, so it becomes a handy and essential part of Stellaris gameplay. The key element that we'll be looking at in the first part of the tutorial is the following: the command limit, the naval cap, and how to build a fleet in the Fleet Management tab.
So we are going to be using my Hivemind Arachnids playthrough as an example for this tutorial, as I have already unlocked a variety of ships for us to build our fleets with. Alright, so let's head over here to the left hand side and let's find the Fleet Manager button. Let's click it to get started. Alternatively, you could push the F10 button, which acts as the Fleet Manager shortcut. At first glance, the screen may seem intimidating, but believe me, you will definitely understand it once we are finished.
Okay, so on this screen you can see that we already have a few different fleets built. Ignore these for now, as we will show you how to build your own fleet. First of all, find the Create New button located here and click it. This creates a blank canvas for which we may assign our ships to. Remember the ship designs that you have mastered from our ship designer tutorial? Well, those designs will now show up over here on the right hand side of your screen. If that didn't work or you lose them for whatever reason, then simply click the Add Ship Design to Fleet button located here.
With that screen now open, and before we go any farther, I want to talk about the commands limit, which is in this little bar right here. The command limit essentially gives your fleet a cap to stop any empire from far exceeding the rest. What this means is you won't be able to build an endless number of ships within any one fleet. The base command limit is 20. The game's maximum is 500, though this can really only be achieved with mods. Without mods, the highest command limit is about 260. As you can see, I have a command limit cap of 150 at the moment, and the cost in command limit for each ship will slightly increase depending on the ship's class. The more powerful the class, the more command limit it will cost you. Once this bar has been filled, your fleet is as big as it can be. There are ways of increasing this: the ship type technologies, the Doctrine Space Compact technology line, the Admiralty Support Staff technology, the Distinguished Admiralty Civic, the War Games / 3-dimensional awareness / Combat Variable Migration Supremacy tradition, and the Galactic Force Projection Ascension perk.
With that said, I now want to explain our fleet cap. The fleet cap itself is a little different from the command limit, so it is not to get confused. I will explain the differences. If I hover over the fleet cap here, it tells us I have 428 size out of 523 cap. Now the reason we have this number is because of all the fleets we currently own in total, whereas the command limit is a cap per fleet. Now if we take a look back here at our ship designs and hover over one, it will tell you the ship size of that ship. For example, this Corvette displays a ship size of 1, so in theory we could have 523 of these and still be within our cap. Now take a look at your ships and take note of the size. This is very important because exceeding your cap will cause an increased upkeep of your ships and create a strain on your economy.
Once you have added all the ships you wanted to your fleet, or added as many as possible, it is time to start building the fleet. There are two ways to do this. The first is useful for building a specific fleet. If you don't have it selected already, click the fleet you just created. You will notice above the area where your ship types appear in the fleet, and slightly to the right, there are a series of buttons. If you have enough resources to build one of the ships, you can click on the first button. It will take the required amount of resources to build any and all ships that you can afford for this fleet at the moment. This is a great way to reinforce a specific fleet, for example if it has taken heavy casualties.
The second way is at the very top of the screen in the middle. You see the button that says Reinforce. If you click this, it will build ships for all of your fleets rather than just for a specific one. In this case, it will start with the first fleet and attempt to build as many ships as possible, prioritizing larger ships if you can afford it. If the first fleet is full, or you can't afford those ships, it will move on to the next and repeat the process. This continues until you've run out of resources or all planned ships have started to be built in a shipyard.
So that is how you create and build fleets, but what else can you do here? You can also remove ships from fleets and even decommission entire fleets. To remove ships, click a fleet. On the right hand side where the ships are listed, you will see some buttons for each ship. One of them is for removing all the ships of this type from the fleet. Another is to decommission, which means destroy all of this type of ship. This then gives you space to add more ships of another type.
To decommission an entire fleet, there is a button above the fleet next to the reinforce button that will let you decommission/destroy the fleet. Don't worry if you accidentally click this, it will ask you to confirm before making that very permanent change.
So now you can create and destroy fleets and add ships to them. It's time to look more closely at the fleets themselves. If you've clicked on a fleet before, you will have noticed that a handy tool pops up in the lower left hand corner of your screen. This allows you to not only give orders to the fleet, but also to manage them. It's very useful when focusing on individual fleets.
In the upper left corner of this tool, you will see 6 buttons. The first one is for merging fleets. If you have 2 fleets selected at the same time and the combination of them does not go over your fleet cap, you will be able to merge them into one fleet. It's very handy. The next button removes all orders from the fleet selected. The third button returns the fleet to its home starbase. So the next 2 buttons allow your ships to initiate a jump. If they are greyed out, it's because you don't have the right technology to jump or the required megastructure for the catapult. The last button in the top row is the patrol button, which moves your fleets between 2 points. This can be useful for suppressing pirates.
Moving down and to the right, the next set of buttons are primarily to help manage your fleet. The first, with 3 triangles, signals to other allied fleets that they can or cannot follow this fleet. It is a toggle, so clicking it will change between allow and deny. If it is blue, fleets are not encouraged to follow this one. If it is yellow, then they are allowed to. Next is a shortcut button to open the fleet manager. If you have a fleet selected but don't know where it is, or are not currently looking at it, you can press the third button and you will jump to where it is. The fourth button is a fast way to disband the entire fleet. Finally, the last button deselects the fleet.
Below this, we have a couple of buttons that change the settings of the fleet. You can use the first button to give the fleet an attack order. Click this button and then click the target. You can also just select the fleet and right-click on the target to attack or move there. The second one is the bombardment stance. This is the button you use to cycle through the different bombardment stances, which is what the fleet follows when it is attacking a planet. Depending on your decisions, there may be many stances. Some examples include indiscriminate and selective. The last button shows the stance of the fleet. This is also a cycle button where you can set the fleet to be aggressive or passive. If it's passive, it will only engage if fleets come into its radius. If it's aggressive, it will engage anything that comes into the gravity well of the star.
Next on the screen are some shortcut buttons that we also saw in the Fleet Manager menu. From left to right, there is a quick reinforce button, a split the fleet button that splits it into 2 equal fleets, a transfer button that opens up a window where you can select specific ships from this fleet to create a new one, a quick upgrade button, and a repair fleet button that sends them to the nearest starbase.
Under these buttons, we see a list of all the ships we have in our fleet. We also have icons for how many ships of each type we have and how many we want. If the numbers are the same, then you have all the ships of that type that you want in the fleet. If the numbers on the left is lower, then you are missing some ships and need to build them to fill in the fleet. You can also click on the icons to move all ships of that type to create a new fleet with all the ships of that type and select it directly. If you right click, you create it, but you don't select it.
Below these ship icons are the individual ships. Using these buttons on the right side of each ship, you can look at the ship details or decommission it. This is very useful for replacing specific ships with new models.
So that's it for this fleet management guide. Again, we're really hoping that this will help anyone, but more specifically, complete beginners of this complex game. We love this game, and we want more people to experience the pure awesomeness of Stellaris.
That's right, and if anyone should require any more help, then please pop a comment down below, or better yet, why not join our growing Discord, where we offer 24-hour support on Stellaris and other strategy type games. We call ourselves The Collective, and we're always ready to help or just chat with anyone really. Link for that is in the description below.
The Collective must grow.
Also, a huge thank you to Toxic T15 for helping out with this tutorial. If you guys want to check out his channel and see what cool Stellaris related content he has, then click on the link in the description below. So on behalf of The Collective, take care and bye bye for now.
Make it so.